Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, class. This is Professor Coyote, welcoming back to our Let's Play of Europa Universalis 4. And now, welcome also to our new campaign. As you remember, we finished our Wales campaign out just at the end of Rights of Man, and have now welcomed us into Mandate of Heaven. But that's the new DLC, of course, with the 1.20 main patch here for EU4. We'll go over a couple of things really briefly. We'll probably also go over some of the changes in the middle of it as we're playing, just to save in some time. The first thing I'd like to point out changes, as you can hear in the background, one of the cool things that Paradox did when they put out the Mandate of Heaven DLC was they gathered a separate DLC, which was a lot of their music packs that they'd put out over the couple of years into one central DLC that you could download. This includes everything, including both of the really awesome Guns, Drums, and Steel packs, and the album with Sabaton, the Swedish metal band. So you're going to be hearing a lot of different music now, other than just the bass stuff that comes with the game. So I think that's really cool. It'll catch me up to a lot of the other Let's Players who have those in the background. You won't be hearing the Sabaton stuff, though. That was one of the big things that it even says when you launch the game. Because that is split owned by Paradox and the band itself, that qualifies as a third-party DLC that they say that you cannot use while doing streaming or recording. And considering how awesome that Paradox is with Let's Players, I think I'm going to give them that one. So you're not going to hear any of those music, but that's fine. The rest of the stuff is really awesome. But with that started, as you can see from our title and thumbnail, we did decide whereabouts we wanted to go, and we're going to start in the east. This is, after all, the main patch. A lot of the cool things that they put in Mandate of Heaven are all about the Far East. Excuse me. But I am not going to do Ming. Nah, that's too easy. I'm also not going to do Korea or Japan either. First off, there is a couple of Let's Players that are already doing those. I know Quill's doing Japan. I saw somebody else doing Korea. I also got the Chrysanthemum Throne achievement a couple of DLCs ago. So I don't have an absolute need to do Japan now. No, what we're going to try is a little bit tougher. We're going to try going after the new achievement that came out in 120, and that's Become Emperor of Japan as the Qing Dynasty. So, in order to do that, you have to make the Manchu Dynasty. And in order to do that, you need to start off as one of the Manchu tribes. That's Jianxiao, Aichi, and Yeren. Apologies if I butcher this. It's in the future. So essentially we'll be getting two achievements out of this. We'll be forming the Manchu one, which there's that achievement, and then getting Emperor as King as a second one. This is going to be a little bit difficult. After all, you are going against Ming. And I haven't played around with Mandate of Heaven enough to see if the Ming-plosion happens fairly easily. For those not know, the Ming-plosion is sometime in the 1600s, much like the AI Ottomans inevitably going in decline and getting eaten away by the Mamluks in Austria. It used to be that Ming would have some sort of big split right around right around the end of the 1500s, and it would form into the Warring States period essentially, and a whole bunch of little like Shu and Qing and Han and all sorts of things would start forming there, and then if you're smart, like you're playing Japan or Korea, you could scoop up a bunch of Chinese clay. Because of the way the Mandate of Heaven works now, I'm not sure if the Ming-plosion is going to happen. We shall see. So, it actually makes it a little bit more difficult to become Mandate of Heaven, the Emperor of China, if you're not Ming. We'll see how it goes. If we have to start from scratch, if it turns out to not go, yeah, we'll see from there. But to become Manchu, you have to be one of the Manchu tribes. As you can see, each of them have their own issues. their own things. Haichi has a 333. Jianshao has the highest development, and Yeren has the most provinces. We're probably going to start is Jianshao. Now there is a problem both Jianshao and Haichi are both border Ming, so they're going to throw out what's known as a tributary state. That's essentially like it's essentially where you become a vassal with a will of your own, basically. You're throwing money back at them. We're gonna try and see if we can avoid that. Haven't played the game enough to know how being a tribute state actually works. Obviously you can't declare war on your parent company, and that's gonna kind of need to happen eventually. So we'll see about that. The first time I did try this as a test, Ming threw a warning against us almost immediately, so we'll see. What's going to happen is we're going to have an episode 0 where I go through some of the changes, and then we're going to go into the game. That way I don't have to record the changes all over again. Twitch. And then we can actually, if we have to start from scratch, at least we can keep coming back to that first episode. Either a couple of times the things just go crap out immediately, or we have at least a base to go from. But anyway, we're probably going to start as Jianshao. Your capital is Hunsun here, or Hunsun. It puts you right between Haichi and Korea here. Korea often is going to be a big rival because they're right there. Your rivals will also be Haichi and Yeren because they will both have the same thing you have, which is the Unite the Tribes goal as one of the options. So we'll see how it goes. Ming's going to be a problem. Japan won't be a problem because they're off being Japan, and they've got their own it's the Sengoku period to deal with. And so yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. Let's start on Jianshao, and then we'll go through the changes that A Mandate of Heaven has added. And there's some really fun ones. So let's go right in. We're going to go Ironman Mode. Yeah. As you can see, this has already kind of been tried. And failed. And to be perfectly honest, I'd rather have I don't want to save scum, which is why I'm starting from scratch instead of doing some sort of manipulation at this moment. But anyway, let's go into the changes here. As soon as it starts. Now, there isn't as big a changes as, say, Rights of Man. A lot of the interface, most of the interface is still the same. We just have a couple of big things. First, of course, is the ages issue, and we'll go on that. In China area, we have the Emperor of China, which works a lot like the HRE, just with a few things. There's some tributaries there. I guess you can be. Alright, so you get sort of a kind of an HRE thing, but with tributaries, i.e., kind of like vassals. You've got decrees with an aristocracy. They have certainly these certain things that these decrees go into play for 10 years. They give you their bonuses, and you've got basically all sorts of celestial reforms. So a bit like the HRE, but as you can see here, it can change depending on who takes over. Alright, so that's that one. Another thing that got changed that's actually kind of big is some of the things here in the production interface. First off is, as you can see here, making buildings is actually a little bit easier. Much like with the development, you can sort your states here now, and with each building you can see what's available. This will come definitely handy when you're doing things like temples, temples, churches, that kind of thing. It'll show you what the production is right here, so you can just go straight down the line, as opposed to having to go, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. So that's an awesome thing. Well, the big one now is what they call the Diplomacy Macro Maker. What this is you can set one or all of your diplomats just go around, say, neighboring countries. They'll go help doing their thing. It'll improve relations, and then once they're done, then they'll go to the next place. And once they're done there, they'll go to the next place. So that way you don't have to keep going from place to place. Same thing with these guys and threatening countries. So basically, this is just improve relations. You can set, we can set, say, one to neighboring countries and one to threatening countries, or the like. Another good one here is a lot of these actions have basically the same thing. When you click on one of your actions, say, offer alliance, it's much like one of these maps. It'll show you in blue, and the people that'll accept it in, say, green. So, and this is something we'd be doing anyway. So, say Qing here. Boom, you can click them, and you'll go right into, hey, do you want to be our ally? And they'll take it. Similarly, now, as you can see here, it does the same thing that, say, in dynastic actions. You have one group that could take the royal marriage. That's Qing itself. Now, they're not here because, obviously, we just sent out some... we just had a thing with them, and there's the usual 1 month between diplomatic actions, and so they won't show up here. But you know that you can do that with them later on, and you'll get all sort that for the major categories, and then your other three: the Great Power, the HRE, and the Papal actions. I don't know why there's not an Empire China one. I guess you still have to go through this interface for that. But that's the big one thing too. And another thing that I've actually found is really nice is the ledger. They cleaned up the ledger finally. And I don't mean just, hey, they've got this alphabetized, but you can finally categorize your ledger. As you can see here, allies, rivals, war enemies, positive opinion, and negative opinion. So, hey, they have a negative opinion of you? Maybe you'll want to think about warring with them. So now you can actually... Okay, that's... like, for rivals, though. Like, if you want to go forward with your rivals, now you can just go there and go, hey, let's say you want to check the military. Bada boo! Very nifty right there. That is really awesome that they finally cleaned up the ledger to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So that's the big issues... Except, of course, the big one. Sorry. The ages. Now, the ages is the big one. The one they've been touting since, like, November. When they were all about, oh, this is what we're going to do. The other thing is going to be prosperity and devastation. We'll get into that. But the ages here, they basically, it's... Yes, it's a bit more of feature creep. I would say it's not bad as much feature creep as the way they're handling that devastation and devastation and prosperity. But we'll get into that. But the ages, it does kind of give you another level of missions on top of your usual missions. Now you've got some more, and you get some benefits out of it. So you get 4 ages. They each pop due to some sort of event happening. Reformation happens when the Protestants pop onto the screen. So, what, something about the 1520s, 1530s, if I remember. This pops when global trade goes off, which I believe is in the 1600s. Yeah, global trade pops off at 1600, and then similarly... Age of Revolution pops when Enlightenment has been discovered. Now, keep in mind, they say discovered. Meaning, they will pop when those things pop. Not when somebody gets them. So that's something to think. So basically, you've got about an age per Yeah, just about an age per century. With the Age of Discovery, Age of Reformation kind of being the short shift, because these guys actually pop off at the new century. So Age of Revolution will be for about 100 and... Well, this has been true for at least 120 months. I'm not sure if that's something else or... but anyway, it basically pops off at about where each age is going to be about 100 to 120 years or so. What each age does is they have this new splendor tick. So when an age resets, it's a new splendor. You get about... It starts off at at 1 per month. And that goes up through these objectives. Each objective gives you a bonus to splendor per month. Now, the thing about splendor is you use this as currency for this. This is a new, basically, kind of monarch point, but very specific for these benefits here. Now, the benefits allow a de jure law for a specific state edict. It gives that as an option for at least that age. This gives you plus 10 aggressive expansion impact. This gives you a half cost for transfer subject and allow more claims. This allows war taxes cheaper. This goes for an upper cav, so that's probably like going to be a Roomba's most annoying thing. Sorry, it's a cav to infantry ratio, because they basically changed a bit on how the flanking bonus is. Here in military, this is the one thing. This is like the one thing they improved in the country view, is they cleaned up military pretty good again. You'll actually see what your combat width is here. You'll see what your cav to infantry ratio is here. See, we get about a 75% split, so it's getting really close to that. Due to us being nomadic, we have about a 75 cav to infantry, so we can kind of crank that up pretty hard. Defense, discipline. I mean, some things have already been seen, but for instance, now your military tactics is clear and where it's coming from. Army tradition, that kind of thing. So that's really nice. That's a cool thing. Extra bennies to your colony when it's finished, so that's really cool for, say, Portugal or Spain. Adaptive combat terrain. This basically gives a bonus to the terrain in your capital in combat. Say, with planes, allows for easier mode, that kind of thing. A medium mode of transportation. And then each era will have some country-specific ones. Like the Ottomans get siege ability, the Portuguese get Skettler Increase, Liberty Desire in the Danes, and ship trade power for the Venetians. So that is what you spend Splendor on, is to get bennies. Each of these need 800 Splendor. So this is what the objectives are for, to help, because there is no way that if you don't get any of these benefits, you'll get enough Splendor by the end of an age, because 800 months is pushing it for... it's pushing it. You could probably get about 1 between ages. Because... well, yeah, because 1,200 months is a century. So, anyway, I'm getting off base. These help crank that so you can get more than 1 in an age. Let's just put it that way. Now, obviously, they're not like super game-breaking ones, so it's not like you have to do it. But it's just like getting a long game kind of mission. These objectives are the big thing. Not only do you get these to bonus the Splendor, but as you can see here, there's a button called Start Golden Era. That means you activate one of these ages to make it a Golden Era once per game. So you have to have at least 3 of these objectives filled to be able to pop that up. And it gives you some more 10%ers. And that's production, absolutism, costs down, and morale up. Once again, not game-breaking, but definitely a nice leg up. And these objectives, now, from what I've seen from the different games, they are generally the same, but there are some changes depending upon, say, region. For instance, here in here, and by and large, what you generally see is this one. I've seen this one different. The feudal society. Now, in the Ottoman game I played, where I was playing around with this is the same one. It has 5 different vassals. In Arumba's Portugal, this changes to, I don't know what the title is, but I believe the objective is you have to have 2 personal unions with a country. Another thing is discover America, and so you would assume that the American countries would have something different. But they have their thing, like you have Discover America, you get that checked off. Large city, 30 development, get that checked off. Present on 2 continents. And the funny thing about this is, I've noticed that while the Ottomans can basically get large city handed to them the moment they take over Constantinople, either this area isn't considered Europe, or Turkey isn't considered Asia for present on 2 continents. Because, like I said, I played the Ottomans, and this isn't automatically checked off. It's checked off for Portugal, because they have Portugal and Ceuta. So since that's Africa, and it's considered Africa, then boom. So that's just something odd with something like that. I haven't actually expanded the Ottomans further out enough into Asia Minor to see when Asia exists for that particular continent thing. But that's just something to consider, and that's one of the 2 big things. And the other big thing is this little divvy here. It's devastation, which that goes up whenever you're in war from being looted, or when pirates hit you, or certain events also increase devastation. So that, and those will have big drops in, say, production based on the percentage, during production of taxes and that kind of thing. That leads into the new States tab. The States tab it's basically where this expands. Where it used to be, this is just a state here in the main thing, and then you core and that kind of thing. But now, the states have a lot more fiddly bits to do with them. The center is, of course, the prosperity thing. Now, if you're not in war, and you have all of your area, sorry. There we go. This is a little bit better. You have to have all of these in your city, your state, your country, and then prosperity will start ticking up. Once prosperity fills, that's 100%, then you get this benefit. You get more percentages. Oh, and stability has to be positive as well. At least stability 1, and then prosperity ticks up. There's other ways to help prosperity tick up, but generally it's just having anything, don't be in war, don't be devastated, and boom, it'll go up. The other thing that a state can do are these edicts. Now, for certain... Well, not for certain. For double the maintenance, basically, you have one of these go off for a year. They're pretty hard, nifty. Like religious unity is good because it gives you another percent. Manpower 25, trade 50, that kind of thing. It does double the maintenance, but if you have a low maintenance state, it can give it a leg up and make those states actually useful. And another thing they do, at least here in the East, is there's a banner. This is essentially a very special regiment, which is cavalry-based, that you have to spend a little bit of corruption to make one. They don't count against your force limit, but they crank up your discipline for the group they're in. And generally, it depends on how a state is, on how many banners you can get out of them. I believe you have to have, what, I guess at least one of the, at least a majority, or at least 2. That's what it's looking like. The more you control in a specific state, obviously, the more you can raise banners. You can't raise banners in ones you don't have, for instance. Especially in areas of a state you're not in. That's kind of cool. The Discovery, I don't think it's feature creep because it's just basically mini achievements, mini objectives. You don't have to focus on there. It doesn't give you enough to really, like, make the game explode. And if you've reached enough splendor, it will give you a flag that say, hey, you can buy something. So that's kind of a set it and forget it thing. That's cool. The new states thing, however, I think it does have some cool parts, like the banners thing, and the prosperity that's a set it forget it too. But it's the edicts is definitely a bit of an annoyance. Yes, you don't have to do anything with them. But it's a lot like my least favorite thing of the estates. I am definitely not a Roomba. I do not play the game with the estates. I don't see, I don't tweak their stuff, and, I mean, yada, 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 yada. Okay, well, at least as a tribe, this actually kind of looks cooler. But I don't play that game. I just, give them their stuff so they stop yelling at me, and I generally, whatever. The states is kind of with the edicts thing, it's almost about the same way. You have to fiddle around. You have to kind of, make sure you know what these are, because these advancements only last for a year. And there's no thing that says, hey, you can take an edict now. The flag doesn't pop up. So you have to keep going back. You have to keep going back to your states. You go, okay, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? So, I'm not a fan of the edicts. But we'll see how that changes as we go on. I'm definitely a fan of the ages. That's cool. I'm definitely a fan of the cleaning up of that, of the ledger. Definitely a fan of that. I'm kind of... We'll see how the Empire thing goes. I mean, obviously that's what we're working on with this. So, we'll see. But, that is going to be for the next episode. We have started on Gen Sha. We will end up as King. Well, our goal is to go as King as Emperor. And that will be our new campaign, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you join us? We are going to start a war probably almost immediately. Because we need Giran and Hingan to form Manchu. And going from Manchu is when we start going into King. Because it'll actually make people like Quill really happy, because it's that flipping over titles thing. It'll be fun. It'll be awesome. And hopefully we don't get rammed up the pooper by Ming pretty hard. I'm sorry, that was kind of rude. But anyway, I hope you have a very excellent rest of your day. I'm really excited to get right back into this. Get right into a new campaign, because I know that I'm kind of... I think I've run out of buffer as of today. So, gotta get back into the recording game there, Professor. Alright, well, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. And with that, class dismissed.